Season 1, Episode 20, Part 2, The Roundel Report.
Or episode, whatever. Yeah, welcome back to Part 2 of our discussion.
Parliamentary special.
Our parliamentary special. Now I'm bigging it up, is there? Yes, where we're discussing, obviously, the new Tory leader. We have been talking about, obviously, energy. Let's just sort of bit of background, because we never really covered who Liz Truss is. So we do know she served under 3 prime ministers since 2012, which I think was when she first became an MP. Most recent role, of course, as a minister, yes.
She was from the Lib Dem party previously, though, wasn't she?
She was a Liberal Democrat who, in 1994, she gave a speech calling for the abolition of the monarchy. That's probably what did for the Queen, you see. She took one look at her and went, that bitch wanted rid of me. And, yeah.
Maybe Liz Truss did her in.
Did her in. Could be. That'll be the conspiracy. That if things go wrong.
Seriously, I mean...
They'll be saying this. And then
Liz Truss visits the Queen to gain royal assent.
And the Queen dies.
48 hours later.
She was, of course, yes. Not good, is it?
That's not good. Doesn't look good. Like if there was to be like a police investigation, and you had given those facts.
Yeah.
Like, okay, so you
one
visited
look
the
at Truss and the Queen's off to the big Tupperware party in the sky. Bless her. Oh, Jesus. I mean, honestly, I don't think I could stomach meeting her in person, Liz Truss, really. You know what I mean?
May that day never happen.
May that day never happen. But let's see who she is. So she was previously a Lib Dem. Previously a supporter of Great Britain's belonging to the EU,
and then
waved the flag.
And then when she moved from Lib Dems, when she moved from the Lib Dems to the Conservative Party,
yes,
her father disowned her.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Oh dear.
Because he couldn't believe that she had changed
to become a Tory.
Yeah, so she changed her views so drastically.
That's not good. She was loyal, of course, to Boris Johnson right until the very bitter end, and actually paid tribute to him in her acceptance speech, and which fell on really stony ground. Oh, did it fall on stony ground? There was about a real long silent period after she'd sort of bigged old Boris
like
up.
One of those slow claps.
And then suddenly one person clapped, which I assume was probably Boris Johnson himself. So what else? She recently described the leader of the Welsh House as being a low-energy Jeremy Corbyn. She suggested that we should ignore Nicola Sturgeon and that Macron and the French might be foes rather than friends.
She was right about that, though, wasn't she?
No, let's not be.
Macron is no friend of the UK. You must be joking if you think otherwise.
Yeah, but the point is, there's no.
He's sending migrants across the flipping North Sea at every opportunity.
Not sending them.
How many millions are we
He's
paying?
Not slipping them a fiver and saying, here you go.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, get on the boat.
Pretty much.
Oh, come on.
Pretty much.
Come on.
How much are we paying for security out there?
Well, I don't know.
Millions. Like 20, 25 million.
Apparently we've paid 100 million for Rwanda not to take anybody because they haven't taken anybody yet. So that's cost us an arm and leg, and nobody's actually got on the plane and got off in Rwanda yet.
No, is that actually going to happen now?
Well, I don't.
Because obviously now we have a new Home Secretary.
Yes, because Priti Patel resigned before she was sacked.
I like Priti Patel.
Oh no, she was Disgusting.
We disagree.
No, I can't stand her. Couldn't stand her. Good riddance. Good riddance to bad rubbish.
An illegal immigrant, if they knew that their option was to go to Rwanda, might think twice about coming here illegally. That's not a bad thing.
But the way things are looking here, Rwanda might be a better option.
No, but now they're talking about, there's another, Turkey? Is it Turkey?
I don't know.
But there are other countries that they were looking to do agreements with, yeah.
They could have picked somewhere nice.
Yeah, Rwanda. When have you ever been? So you don't know. Neither do I.
I don't think I'd want to go.
It's not like
we've all seen Hotel Rwanda, haven't we?
Yeah, that was also a long time ago.
It's not that long.
It's long enough.
It's not long enough. Not long enough to be sending boats full of people once they've got here and rewarding them with a trip to Rwanda.
You might think twice.
You know, like opening a Reader's Digest letter. Congratulations. Yeah. You're a winner of a trip to Rwanda.
Anyway.
So she's gone anyway. Pretty awful, Patel. She's 47, of course, Liz Truss. Desperately needs advice on her wardrobe choices. I think we've covered that.
And is she one of the first prime ministers that doesn't have a family?
I think she's got...
Does she have, like, husband and wife?
Yes, she's married. I think she has 2 children, which is a plus.
I just assumed she was single.
She doesn't want to tax the excess profits of energy companies, which I mentioned earlier.
How honourable.
She wants to cut corporation tax.
Good.
Which, okay. I don't... On the plus, as a plus, I don't think she did a bad job of her first face-off in PMQs, but I do get the impression from having watched it that people went easy on her.
First day at school,
first day at school. But certainly the next day, when she unveiled her plan to deal with the energy crisis, it was a little bit more full on against her. Can she turn round what is now clearly, after 12 years in power, an ailing Tory government that is struggling for direction? And what about her mantra? Deliver, deliver, deliver. Her next job's going to be an Amazon driver. I reckon, you know. I mean, really? I thought I was a bit lame. By the time she got to the third deliver, I was losing the will to live. I just thought it was a bit...
Deliver us from evil.
I mean...
It's going to be a disaster, and that's that.
You think? So you think...
There's no government on the planet that can resolve the issues that we face over the next couple of years.
Look,
it's going to be bad. It doesn't matter who's in power, really. Our situation is relatively dire.
It's not good.
So it's just a question of how bad can things get.
Well, let's go back to... We want to talk about how bad things can get. Let's go back to this whole thing of the price cap. And I mean, a lot of people don't understand what the actual price cap means. The price cap of 2,500 it's a bit confusing. It's a bit sort of contradictory, because that 2,500 that she's sort of saying, capping it at, if you've got a 4-bedroom house in Victoria Park that was costing you £1,500 to heat last year, it's not capped at 2,500. It's the unit price that is capped, the therm price or the kilowatt price. And then that figure of the cap is based on an average home's use. It's very important to remember, folks, because
what is
a lot of people are thinking that it's capped your price.
At an average home level.
At an average home level, it would be £2,500 a year if her policy becomes the order of the day. And the price cap at the moment, as I said, it isn't a price cap. It's about average homes and average usage. So the fact of the matter is, if you were using 1,500 quid before, when the price cap was 1,200 on an average home, the fact of the matter is you'll be paying like 3,500 quid, 4,000 quid or more.
Yeah,
that's a reality. So there's that side of it. And you mentioned something which I thought was quite interesting about because I was using X amount of energy before, and suddenly the energy companies have upped my direct debit by what kind of percentage? 300%?
no, in my case it was 500%.
500%, which doesn't, when you think about the price cap, doesn't relate. But of course, it relates to your energy usage, which is why. In your particular case, not because they buggered it.
Well, so the issue is a lot of people who are on direct debits, and had a fixed rate contract, therefore were paying a fixed amount for gas and electricity on a 12 or 24 month.
When that term is over, suddenly they're
or you choose to go to a different provider. But what happened in my case was that I was on a fixed rate. Everything was fine for a few months. An email came through saying, we will be assessing your energy usage, and we will see whether or not we need to change your estimated fixed price. I kept on passing meter readings as you're supposed to, and then I got another email a month later saying that my energy usage, their estimate, had gone up 500%. And therefore, my fixed rate, which was, let's call it £50.
Your energy usage, you got up 5%, or the amount of money, 5%?
The energy usage.
Yeah. Oh, well, that was clearly a mistake, because you're not using 5 times more.
Right. Because obviously, right, exactly. So I was like, hold on a second. I've gone from, let's call it £50 to £250. Yeah. I've been sending you my meter readings. So what's the issue? They were like, well, we've been doing estimates. So why are you giving estimates when I've been providing you the information?
So in other words, they haven't been working off your meter readings, and you haven't been questioning.
But this is a huge issue, because this has now been reported to Ofgem, whereby thousands of people on direct debits who pay without looking at their bill, all of a sudden are seeing their fixed rates ballooning.
Yes, well, of course, if they're on a low fixed rate,
but then they're wondering why.
Yeah.
And then when they start to question the bills, the energy companies essentially saying, oh, well, the price of energy has gone up. I'm like, okay, but it hasn't gone up fucking 5 times, has it?
No, exactly.
So what's going on? And the result essentially is that 2 months worth of emails backwards and forwards, photographs of my meters, previous energy readings sent in. I ended up getting a rebate of like £1,100-1,200, but we still have the issue where they don't seem to be aware of what my actual usage is.
The usage in terms of therms and kilowatt.
Exactly.
Okay.
And they're blind to the fact that I've been providing the data, but they just don't want to look at the data.
Smoke and mirrors. Is this happening to a lot of people? And
if you find yourself in that situation, contact your energy supplier and harass them. Is the only thing I can say.
Yeah.
You need to be on their case all the time, providing as much information as possible, so there is no way that they can deny that you're actually providing all the information necessary for them to make an accurate reading of your usage.
Well, you do. If they're looking at the meter readings, they've got an accurate.
But they have to actually input the data.
Do you not do it online?
It doesn't matter.
Because when I do mine,
It still has to get checked.
I do it online. I get the thing comes back and it tells me.
But this is not
that
automated.
it tells me
It's
the
not
meter
automated.
readings and tells me the.
But it's not automated. Someone still has to check.
Ah.
Just be careful, because you don't want to
Well,
get.
I am.
Because you don't want to get stung by a huge bill and you don't know where it came from.
No.
And it's not that you can't pay.
We pay on bill. I don't pay by direct debit. We monitor usage.
A very quick story.
But I do see a lot of this replicated. The question: why has my direct debit, when it's the cap has gone up, say, what is it, 54%, 84%, and yet my direct debit has gone up 300%.
I'll tell you a really quick story. A next door neighbour.
It's got bugger all to do with this trust, though.
That's not the point. Next door neighbour.
He had a podcast.
He had a water meter installed.
Yeah.
3 months later, he gets a bill from Thames Water, £20,000.
Sorry.
£20,000. So my neighbour comes and he's like, "Look at this." So he shows me the letter, £20,000 bill. He's like,
Was he running a tomato farm?
It's like, "Well, we've got a fucking swimming pool." So what is this? He gets on the phone, speaks to the lady. The lady's like, "Oh yeah, I see you've got quite a high bill." He's like, "Yeah, I really do." He's like, "I'd like to understand why." And she's like, "Oh well, if that's what the meter's saying, it's a meter. You're on a smart meter. So if the smart
no.
So if the smart meter says 20,000, that's what you've got to pay."
Because they put the word "smart" in it. They deny there could be an issue.
Essentially,
this is
they threatened legal action unless he paid the bill in advance. He was like, "I'm not paying you a single penny, and you can take me to court, and then we'll see what happens."
Well,
it took 6 months. Even bailiffs came to try and take his stuff. Hold on a second. All because the stupid smart meter was faulty.
Well, of course it was faulty. I mean, anybody with half a brain, when suddenly you get a bill for 20 grand.
Most people don't have half a brain. And they're willing to try and take someone to court for it.
Clearly not. But
these things happen. That's what
I had an issue 20 years ago in the flat I was renting. Remember, I used to rent a flat down in Canary Wharf, and I had a bill for £3,000 from British Gas for gas there, and the threat to take me to court and cut me off and all the rest of it. And it took actually months for me to get the constantly ringing them up and the constantly getting these letters in the post and the threat of bailiffs and what have you. It took me a good 3 months of calling to persuade British Gas that it was that there was an error. Not least since the building didn't have a gas supply at all. They were trying to do me for £3.5 grand.
How'd you get a letter in the first place?
Hello. Amazing, isn't it?
You should have gone to court. It would have been hilarious.
I mean, it just, the incompetence.
Your Honour, I actually don't have a gas supply, so...
Yeah, I mean, but there is a big problem here because people are, the energy company, this is why I'm for a windfall tax, because it's clear to me the energy companies, full stop, are really kind of taking advantage of this situation. Don't get me wrong, we all know the cost of energy has gone through the roof. But I do not see that it's right that the standing charge has gone through the roof with it. I don't think that's helpful at this particular time. Neither do I think it's right that it seems that as people's direct debits are changed, they're changed to account for a further rise that hasn't even happened yet. This is one thing that's been very clear this last week or two, that the energy companies now, because they've made the cap once every 3 months, are allowed to kind of hedge.
Yeah.
So we think it'll be this in December. and thus ask for that in the direct debits now. So it's actually it's a bit naughty. And personally speaking, that's one of the reasons I don't pay by direct debit, even though it probably costs an extra £165 a year to do it that way. But I pay immediately. I give them the meter readings on the day they ask for them. I get the bill online 2 days later. I pay online, so it's costing them nothing in terms of
admin and
processing. So I think it's wholly wrong that you've got, and nothing's been done about it. It's been long argued about the issue of whether it be punishing people for not paying by direct debit or punishing people because they have top-up meters and they have to pay extra. They've already bought their energy. Why are they having to pay an inflated price? It seems to me to be unfair.
That affects the poorest section of society,
correct,
as well, and then you punish them even further.
So I'm afraid when I go, as I said, our main subject is Liz Truss's premiership. I'm afraid when I listened to her energy strategy yesterday, I would want to have heard her at least make a reference to dealing with that issue of higher costs for people on prepaid, dealing with the punitive issue of punishment of people who pay on the bill rather than by direct debit. Yeah, great. If they're paying via cheque and it's got to have a lot of administration and they're paying late, I could see argument for adding 10 quid for the next bill. But if you're doing it online and you're doing it within a set number of days...
Why does it cost £10 to process a cheque?
Well, I'm being
facetious.
I'm being a little facetious, yes. But the point is, it just highlights that there is no excuse for them to be punishing the poorest people in society who have top-up meters, and those who choose not to pay by direct debit are paying another £165 a year on average. Just seems to me to be wrong. And I would have liked to have heard a lot more about what they were going to do in terms of taking control of how the country's energy is dealt with in this crisis. And quite frankly, I think there's a bloody good argument for nationalisation. Because if you're going to spend hundreds of billions bailing people out, you might as well spend the hundreds of billions and decouple the bloody lot from
bringing it back to public use. I agree.
It back to public use. And there's no reason, sorry, but we all cast our mind back and think, when things were nationalised in the 1970s, look what happened. Well, we're not in the 1970s, although it might feel like it at the moment. There is no reason to suggest that these companies can't be run at a profit.
There should be no profit motive anyway. Is that the whole point?
Well, it is the whole point. But if you want to run it according to allow it to be profitable and plough the profits back into either energy security or the public coffers to fund other things. But to borrow money, which is what she's proposing to do,
and then giving it to energy firms, essentially.
Giving it to energy firms to pay out in dividends.
It's nonsense, isn't it?
To saddle future generations with yet more debt, and also at a time when this country is going to be paying more to service its debt because of the pound dropping and the rise of interest rates and inflation. Just seems to me to be, how can I put it, economically illiterate.
Well, they were saying 2 days ago the pound against the dollar was the lowest level since 1985. So essentially we've digressed 35 years. Well done.
Well done, Tory party. Well done, Tory government, for making it. Well,
it's not the Tory party's
They've made
fault.
a lot of bad calls over 12. Austerity was a bad call. Frankly, just about everything.
Austerity meant less debt. That's not a bad thing. And now we're going the other way, where we're saying forget austerity, let's blow a wad.
But austerity has still been imposed upon certain sectors of the working population that have resulted now, after where we are at the moment, in large parts of the British workforce, whether it be barristers, whether it be postal workers, whether it be NHS workers, whether it be cleaners, whether it be, you name it, they're all going, hang on a minute, we're being clouted again. And this is part of why we're in this state of people
NHS workers are well paid.
No, they're not.
Yes, they really are.
Technically, if you account for inflation, they're paid less now, accounting for inflation, than they were in 2010. How is that?
The issue is that the size of the NHS is so large that its cost has ballooned. The NHS shouldn't be such a megalithic thing, which is the main issue. The government is too big. The NHS is too big. The public sector essentially is too big.
The size of the NHS isn't an issue here. It's the size of the British public that have put pressure on the NHS is the problem. It is the fact that we run an NHS system or a health system in this country that doesn't put prevention and good education first, while we only spoke about it in part one.
Well, so
somebody like Teresa Coffey as an example to public health.
But then what are we spending?
What
are we spending?
Cigar smoking lardos.
What are we spending the money on then? So then you're making the point for me.
I'm making the point that the nation's health is the nation's health, and we can do so much more to prevent
that's not the point.
Preventative to save money.
All the money that's being spent on the NHS, if it isn't actually doing any good, means that it's bloated.
You've got to have a health system. It needs pairing, but you've got to have a health system that works, and a health system that works has to be well funded. It does come out of our pocket, but what is clear is that the NHS, obviously notwithstanding COVID, is overworked because we don't have a good preventative health education in this country. We've got millions of people wandering around with type 2 diabetes, millions of people.
That's a societal issue.
Exactly.
It's got nothing to do with the NHS.
If you want the burden of the NHS to be less, you've got to deal with the other issues too, including social care. So you're not having old people blocking the beds because they've got nowhere to go and they can't be going home because it's not safe for them. You've got a whole bundle of issues that need, instead of just tinkering around at the edges, need a proper plan. As with the energy, it's no good just tinkering around the edges. This government, Liz Truss and her cabinet need to have a 10, 15, 20 year plus plan.
That's not how government works.
Moving the deck chairs around on the bloody Titanic.
That's not how politics works, unfortunately. It doesn't.
Well, no,
clearly. There is no 20.
But she had an opportunity to take a step here.
She has a 2-year plan.
She's tiptoeing.
Like you said, the next election is in 2024.
Well,
therefore, her plan is 2 years.
I don't believe her when she says to me 2024.
Fine. But therefore, her plan is maximum 2 years.
Yeah.
That's her strategy.
Yes.
Is where will we be in 2 years' time?
Yeah.
It's not as
she still be wearing that fucking awful purple dress?
Yeah, but it's not where will the country be in a decade or in 2 decades or by 2030 or 2050, because she's not going to be around enough. She won't be there to manage the thing, to manage the country.
Well, at the rate she's going, I think she's actually a bit of a gum tree already, because one thing of a new prime minister is they kind of want to hold and control the narrative in the first few weeks of their premiership. And of course, notwithstanding the fact that of course the Queen has passed on, and that has kind of taken all that away from her in an instant. I mean, today's papers have nothing else in them other than the Queen's passing.
So this is what was in the Metro.
So yes, I mean that's
the front page of the Metro.
There we go.
And essentially the entire paper.
Yeah.
Can you see that?
There we go. There we go. Not that we do a bit of advertising for you, but not even the crossword was left.
Literally,
I've got to sharpen my pencil this morning to do the quick crossword over my coffee.
From front to back.
And it was not there. And so this is a problem. This is a problem for her because she's... the country is all very well mourning the passing of Her Majesty, so be it. But the fact of the matter is, things need to be got on with. And any further delay after the delay of the Tory party leadership campaign, is kind of is a bit awkward because really they need to have a decisive plan.
Can we finish this topic now? It's boring.
One that's come up is not. So there we have it. Simply, do we think she's going to make a success of it?
No.
Or do we think she is going to be toast at the next election, or do you think she will end up being toast before 2024?
She's a Theresa May Part 2.
There we go. But without the kitten heels. On that, I think we went easy on her today, really.
Well, energy is more important, quite frankly.
Yes.
These are things that affect us directly.
Because if she doesn't deal with this properly, a plan to look after businesses for 6 months, please. Most of those businesses are going to be paying extraordinary, 150% more, even under her plan, than they were paying 3 months ago.
Many have said that they're going to close down.
And I do not see how the hospitality industry and lots of other industries can survive a 150% rise in energy costs if their energy...
No, but they can't.
If their energy side is the biggest part of their business.
Even
passing that on to the public...
Even pubs have said that pints might go to £15, £20.
Exactly.
If they have
cannot happen.
Yeah, it's impossible.
Because people cannot pay for it. So the bottom line to this is...
the high street will be dead within 3 months.
I agree.
If we continue down this road.
I agree. So we're
if people are
fairly saying that her energy policy is bollocks. Frankly.
Most people are going to shut up shop.
Yeah.
And at least wait to see what happens in the winter and see what those energy bills look like. Because no one...
Well, they get quoted forward, don't the companies? I mean,
no one's going to be spending money for Christmas, in fear that there might be a huge bill coming down the line for electricity and gas.
I'm seeing stories of companies that normally pay about £20,000-25,000 a year for their energy. They had a Chinese takeaway on there last night. And now they want over... the amounts are just eye-wateringly big. Because they're energy-intensive businesses, there is no way that they could pass it on to the consumer because, it just wouldn't work. It just is. So I just see that it's everything that I'm seeing so far tells me that she just hasn't got a grip or the first sense of how serious a corner that Britain is in. So on that lovely, positive note, chin up, folks. Get your onesies out and have a good day.
Bye, everyone.